Welcome back to Open Line. We're talking about the American fire culture. We have with us Dr. Burton Clark, Executive Fire Officer and author of a book, I Can't Save You, But I'll Die Trying. He is speaking really all over the country about this book and the need for us to all rethink how we look at fire and how we look at fire death. Now, one of the things that the media talks about a lot is response times. Yes. What are your thoughts when the media gets into response times and evaluating that? What do you think?
Well, this is how a typical news report goes. There's a fire, somebody's house, and the reporters get there and they say, "Did anybody get hurt? How fast did the fire department get here? Were any firefighters injured?" I would like them to ask. Those questions are fine, but then they should ask, "Was there working smoke detectors in the house? Did the house have sprinklers in it?" All right? Because how fast the fire department got there in terms of response time, that's important. But in the scheme of things, it really is the least important time factor. The most important time factor for survival of the people in the occupancy is from the time the fire starts until it's discovered. Mm-hmm. Then the time that the occupants are notified there's a fire, then the time the occupants are leaving the house. If those things are delayed, which in fatalities they usually are, the fire department can never make that up. Okay? There are fire fatalities literally across the street from the firehouse because no one told us there was a fire. Right. And the people in the house didn't know there was a fire. You can literally have fire fatalities and the outside of the building have no indication of fire because it didn't break out of the building, it didn't break a window. Mm-hmm. So it could be hours before anyone knew that there was a fire.
So a standard question the media should ask is, were there smoke detectors in the house?
Absolutely. Were there smoke detectors in the house? What's this residential sprinkler ordinance for around here? And then, you know, I'm going to get feedback from my brother firefighters, but then they should ask, when was the last time the fire department knocked on this door to make sure the occupants had working smoke detectors?
Well, now Nashville's so enormous, I'm going to bet they didn't. I mean, they can't go and knock on every door, right?
Why not? That's my comeback. Why not? Mm-hmm. If having a smoke detector is the most important thing for someone surviving their fire, why haven't we as a fire service decided that's a primary activity that we are going to take responsibility for? We cut the grass at the firehouse, we clean the bathrooms at the firehouse, we do lots of other things, we try to raise money if we're a volunteer fire department, so we're doing all these other things. You mean we can't find time to go knock on doors to make sure people have smoke detectors? Thank goodness the American Red Cross in their national campaign, their national campaign was to install 1 million smoke detectors. The American Red Cross took on that responsibility in partnership with fire departments, but they took on that responsibility to go door to door, knocking on doors to make sure people have smoke detectors. Mm-hmm. So it took the American Red Cross to take on that responsibility because they saw that's how people could be saved from fire. So we need to step up to the plate and do more of that. Now, a lot of places have programs where you can call up and say, hey, I don't have a smoke detector, and they'll come put one in for you. Right. But that's still reactive, mm-hmm, as opposed to proactive. And I know I'm going to get lots of calls from my brother firefighters. Clark, you're making us do, well, I want you to go do stuff. So, I mean, that's, okay, I'll take heat from anybody.
All right, I believe, Bob, are you back on the line there?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead. Well, what else do you want to say here?
Well, I guess what I want to get back to maybe is like a whole situation, and I know Dr. Clark, yeah, he may have this data, he may not, but you know, we always hear about, you know, fires starting and this and that, but we never, I never really hear what the actual root cause of the fire was. And what I'd sort of like to know is that, you know, you always hear, you know, something electrical, or is it the resident, or just, I mean, is there any data out there that
A little more detail about how fires are started. A lot of these residential fires, is that right?
Yes, yes.
I mean, certainly when we cover it, it's always under investigation. So you see the house that's burned down, but you never really get the sense of what exactly caused it.
Yeah.
What is the data on that?
Again, thanks, Bob. Again, without getting into specifics, because there's whole organizations that do nothing but that. For example, the National Fire Protection Association, National Fire Prevention Control, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association in Boston, and the U.S. Fire Administration. They're the people that collect and have all the data, so they're the data experts. But think of it this way: whenever there's a fire, unless it's a lightning strike, there is some kind of human connection to it, right? Even if it's an electrical problem behind a wall, somebody installed that electrical switch. Was it installed exactly correctly? Or was the nut not tight enough? And has it been loose for a long time? Had the light switch been blinking or flickering, but nobody decided to look at it? So my experience is there's usually some human behavior or lack of behavior connected anytime there's an unwanted fire. And again, I'm not blaming the installer or the person that we just don't see it as a potential risk. So that's part of it. We all need to take more responsibility that when we see terrorists, when we see something, say something. If we know there's something wrong, contact someone to fix the electrical problem. I was in my daughter's house not long ago, and there was a gas can in the living room because she had been outside weed whacking and she had left the house and forgot it there, and I picked it up and took it. There should never be a gas can in the house. And I said, you know what I found here? And she said, oh, I forgot to move the gas can. You can't forget to move the gas can.
No.
And she's just a bright woman.
Right.
But so it's a matter of being able to see those kinds of things and being aware of it.
And what is the biggest cause of fires? Is it electrical? Is it space heaters? Do you know?
Again, it needs to have a definition. The number one cause of home fires is cooking. They are cooking related. So stop and think about it. That's where human beings are involved in hot stuff the most.
Right.
We're cooking 3 times a day. All right. But it's not the number one fatal issue. Fatal fires many times are cigarette smoking.
Okay.
Okay? The time of year changes. Wintertime, you get a lot more heater-related fires. Okay? So there's not just, the potential is all around us. And it's seeing it and being aware of it. Simply putting something over a lampshade to have more romance in your room. If it touches the light bulb, it could turn that into a flame and catch fire on something. You have one of these scooters that the kids ride around on. Some of them, when you plug them in, they were catching fire.
Right,
okay?
right.
So there's almost anything we have in our house, if there's heat or electricity or chemicals, there could be some potential fire connected with that. And it's being aware of those kind of things and then taking the actions to keep it from having a fire.
All right, we're going to take another break. I want to come back and talk about another part in this book where you say why the fire service should avoid the term line of duty death. So we'll take a break. We'll talk more about that. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.